that we have within the industry and within the Kenyan market. And the trust also is a discussion that I also approach from the financial planning aspect, and I'm happy I will be handling that. As an individual, I'm married. I'm a mother of two, married to a husband who's a male with two kids, a boy and a girl. And I'm passionate about financial planning. I'm passionate about planning, and I'm passionate about financial education because I believe that we have a very rich resource within Africa. And if we were to position ourselves rightly and know how to plan and harness the resource, then I think we will be looking at a different continent altogether. I'm happy to be here and be part of the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. It's interesting you mentioned you're married to a husband who is a male.
Nowadays, with the current setup, give the details.
You have to clarify.
Yes.
And she smiled widely.
Sorry?
She smiled so widely.
Who will be that? Who's pointing me out?
Okay, wow.
I don't know that I have Jane Munyori on call. But I think once she joins, she could give me a heads up, then she could say hello to the team.
Okay. I think we can proceed. It's going to 7:15. And I can see most people have joined. Okay, maybe quickly before we start, you can type in the chat if you know any trusts, what level of knowledge do you have about trusts in Kenya, international? Which trusts do you know? Have you ever heard of before she starts? Let's see from the participants we have today. Yes, Manny has said Rockefeller. Anyone else? Rockefeller, Kibaki Trusts. Yeah, thanks, Eve. Yes, Eric, welcome, Trust. Anyone else before we start? Is Chelanga around? Yes, Raimtula Trust. Yes, you know the building in Upper Hill. Yeah. Yes, thanks, Kasamba. Yes, they're time to shine, Chelanga. Rockefeller. The Karume Trusts. Thanks, Violet. Yes, the Nobel Peace Prize. I thought this would be the number one guess in the quiz that I had put up. Yes. World Department of Breath. This one must be Indian. Yeah. Yes, one final one before we close it off. I don't know, Manny. He should have. I don't know. Some people have trusts that are very closed up. So when you Google, you can't really find information about it. Especially the Colgate Trust is really closed up. finding information about it is very hard. But I'm sure his lawyers have something working on something. Or maybe he just hasn't made it public yet, since he's still alive. Yes, I think Diana, I can take it up from here. At least people have an idea of trust.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm actually impressed to see that the people that we have here on call are quite knowledgeable about what we have. In fact, my first example was going to be the Nobel Peace Prize example and how that came to be. Most people know about the award system.
Yeah.
But that was first established even actually as a wheel first. So anyway, we'll get into the details and get to demystify the details of it.
So take it away.
So how many minutes do I have?
Right now it's 7:15. 7:16. We have up to 8. So you can see how to, we have up to 8, so, and we'll have a session for question and answer. So you'll see how to factor in time in your presentation.
All right, that's well noted.
Yeah.
So as I had introduced myself before, I'd said that I've been in the financial space for quite some time. And I always say that the discussion for trust is usually a financial planning tool. I know mostly we have engaged this discussion from a legal perspective, but for me, I look at it more as a financial planning tool more than the legal part, but it involves the legal processes within it. So I'm going to be talking about estate planning, and usually the 3 things that come about when you're talking about estate planning, or with maybe say families or individuals, founders, settlers, if you would, what comes to mind is that maybe say the clientele or the settler wants to distribute wealth, wants to preserve legacy, or wants to protect beneficiaries. Those are some of the top 3 reasons why most people would consider estate planning. So I'd want to introduce the company first. ICA Lion, most of you know ICA Lion for the life policies. So we have ICA Lion Holdings that holds the 4 subsidiaries within it. So the 4 subsidiaries are run as independent companies. They have different management and different solutions that they front within the market. So our logo is similar, and most of our clientele just know ICA Lion as ICA Lion. They don't know the differentiation, but for the purpose of this discussion, it will be important for us to understand the differences. So we have ICA Lion Life Assurance, and this purely deals with the long-term policies, the endowment policies, education policies that would fall within the ICA Lion. These are savings, investment plans with a life cover. We will have ICA Lion Asset Management. I know by virtue of my asking, a number of you would have a money market or a bond fund. So that's what our ICA Lion Asset Management has specialized in, investments. Then we have the ICA Lion Trust Company, where I sit, and we are in the business of trust, hence our name. And so we'll get into more details of what it is that we do as a trust company. Then we have the ICA Lion General Insurance, and this basically just deals with the short-term insurance policies. Think about the motor vehicle insurance, your domestic insurance, your travel insurance that would fall under ICA Lion General Insurance. But all of us sit or are oversight. We have our oversight at ICA Lion Holdings. So all these 4 companies have a CEO, and also the ICA Lion Holdings have a CEO, and the CEO now oversights the 4 CEOs within the group. So let's get right into it, the discussion. So estate planning looks at who you are as an individual, what your causes are, what you have accumulated within your journey and what you want to protect, to preserve. So we look at your life's journey and our purpose or our objective as a trust company and in estate planning is to ensure that we cover your whole journey as is. Well, on this diagram, we've tried to cover the phases within one's life, but we all understand that life is not a straight line, neither is it predictable. So we all know that at some point we will exit, but we don't have the privilege of knowing when. So the purpose or the main objective of estate planning is to be able to cover you for all the phases that are here. So as to whether you'll be living long or longer than you anticipated, or God forbid something happens and one's life is cut short, the main objective of estate planning is to ensure that all those life events are covered. And that's why I was talking about it being a financial planning tool more than a legal solution. So I don't know where we are. I don't know what we see when we look at this photo. And I appreciate that most of us are well knowledgeable about the different financial solutions. We have the different elements that the different tips or the different tools we can use to ensure that our financial well-being is balanced and that we are at a net worth that we have been able to project or plan ahead of time. And I know we are knowledgeable of what instruments to use for that. So put this picture in mind, look at it. I don't know where you are or where you place yourself on this life journey, but we always say that aim at doing something today that your future generation will be grateful for. I won't talk about the quotes, but as long as you're alive, then exit is definite. When we do not know, but exit is definite. And some people say that also taxes are definite. So who should have an estate plan? Maybe one of the things I would love to ask that maybe we failed to ask is how many of us have a will? That's a bit personal. But you can have a notebook and you'll be ticking. Do you have a will? What are the kind of assets you have? Because I've realized the fallacy that most people have is that, but I don't have assets, but I don't have substantial assets. No, but it's not yet where I want it to be, so I don't see the need of having an estate plan. So really, who should have an estate plan? That is you and I. And if you have a policy, then you're a candidate for an estate plan. If you have a money market fund, you're a candidate for an estate plan. If you have a group life cover at your workplace, if you have a pension benefit, if you are in a SACCO, if you have shares that you've invested in, if you have a business that you'd want to grow and enlarge, that you're able to even have the people after you or whichever structure you want the business to outlive you, then you are a candidate for an estate plan. If you have after 50 by 100 somewhere, you are a candidate of an estate plan. If you have a family and you have minor children, then you are a candidate of an estate plan. All that was just to try and mention what forms part of your estate. And I know in some discussions, usually when you talk about estate, they start thinking about real estate. But I know with this particular category, the way I've seen you answering questions on trust, then I know definitely with you, you're very conversant and very alive to what an estate would entail. So estate planning is just, I know we didn't describe or we didn't define what estate planning is, but estate planning is just the having a plan that ensures smooth transition of your assets from yourself to people you care about or to causes you care about. So it's having a plan that ensures what you have is transitioned from yourself to causes or to people you care about. We have various. Okay, as you can see, I'm back on. So what are the tools for estate planning? I saw some questions that had been fronted about what's the difference between a will and a trust, which one is superior to the other. From my definition of an estate plan or estate planning, we have various tools that facilitate estate planning. A will is one of those tools. A power of attorney is one of those tools. A trust is one of those tools. And as a trust company, we front trusts more. And maybe as we discuss, I will be able to get the differences or the reasons why. So for this particular conversation, allow me to focus on, let me see if I can go back to wills. So for wills already, I won't go to the definition of a will. My assumption is that you know what a will is, but then there's a point where now we'll get to the discussion of what are the differences between a will and a trust. I saw questions of which one is superior to the other, why, if there's any that is superior to the other, then why is it superior? And we'll get into that. So allow me now to focus more on family trust, because that was the focus of our discussion. So we say you can't control what happens next, but you can always control what happens next for your loved ones and for the estates that you hold. So what is a trust? Do we have someone who can give it a shot on what a trust is? What is a trust? I remember the first time I started talking about trusts. I think that's the time when we had a lot of conversations around trust condom. Allow me to be gross, because then when I'm gross, people understand better. So the question is, if that is dubbed a trust, is it really a trust? If someone is using that, does it show trust? Or is it contradiction? But the first time I told someone I sell trust, they're like, trust? So what do we understand by trust? To cut to the chase. Any 2 attempts before we continue?
For me, I think trust shows confidence. I have confidence that something will work out.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence. Someone else? Steve Mwinga, are you on call? Okay.
Can I give it a try?
Yes, Patricia.
Okay, so for my own definition, I would say trusts are like legal arrangements or documents that protect assets. Yeah.
Okay, legal documents that protect assets. So there's legal part, document, and then assets. Thank you for those trials. I can see we also have some charts here. Trust, legal protection. Thanks, Violet. So I want to describe a trust without without sounding legalese or security. Yes, thank you, Kelsey. If I have, as I said earlier, I'm married and I have a daughter, and I have a son. So let's focus on my girl for now. If I have a purse and I want it kept for my girl, I'll take I'll take the pass. Okay, let me use a phone. Sorry, scratch. Backwards, phone. So I have a phone and I want to give it to my daughter, Tehila, and I want her to be able to use it when she's able to understand the functionalities and even the purpose of a phone. So I'll take this phone and give it to Valentine, and I'll tell Valentine, please take this phone, hold it for Tehila. When she is age 10, please give it to her. I have created a trust. I have entrusted my phone to Valentine. It is not for her, and neither is it for her use, but she's holding it for my girl who's a minor and cannot be able to utilize the phone, but Valentine will hold it and give it to Tehila when she's of age, according to my description within the trust or within the agreement. So by virtue of that, I've created a trust. From the very definition, it is the ability to hold someone accountable to fulfill a particular wish that you have for someone else. So if I have money and I want this money to be used by Tehila when she's of age, and I want that to be guaranteed whether I'm alive or not, I'll put money in a trust. I'll create a trust and put money in that trust and say, this money belongs to Tehila. When she is age 18, she can access the money. So when it matures and Tehila is 18 and she is given the money, say 20 million, then the trust is terminated. It has fulfilled its mandate. So a trust, so I wanted to understand that trust minus the legal.
Yeah. And so the principle applies for a trust to be alive.
There has to be a purpose. There has to be an asset. There has to be a beneficiary. So me as the founder, who is giving Valentine the phone for Tehila, so I will be the founder. The phone will be the asset. The purpose will be for Tehila, the beneficiary, to use it when she's of age. So she's just holding it for her. When she's of age, she gives it to her, and the trust is terminated. So for a trust to be alive, there has to be an asset, there has to be a beneficiary, there has to be a purpose. So the players within a trust would be the founder who creates the trust, donates the assets into the trust, then defines who the beneficiaries are and the purpose for that particular arrangement or trust arrangement. Then the person who ensures the wishes of the founder are executed as is the trustee. So the trustee is a third party, but a player within the trust to make sure that the wishes of the founder are executed as per the founder's description. So I think I've tried to really go through that. So this is the structure, how that looks like. So this is the trust. We have the founder here. The founder has placed assets and placed them to the trustee and said, hold this for so there's a car, there's a ward, there's land, there's shares, there's cash, all that for these beneficiaries. Then recently the law introduced the element of an enforcer who oversees the trustee and ensures that the trustee truly executes the wishes of the founder. So this is how the setup looks like. What's the process for setup? So let me go back here. This is the basic structure of a trust. One thing I want also to make clear is that a trust is not a one-size-fits-all. What happens is, as long as these principles are applied, then one can literally create a trust for anything. That is why we say that for any trust to be created, the heart of the founder has to be drafted or have to be aired out. We listen, so the founder has to clearly state out, this is what I want. I have my 100 acres here. For example, we had a client who said, I have this 100 acres. I want this reserved as a forest. I don't want it ever to be sold, unless maybe say government policies change and all, but these I want to reserve. as a conservancy. But these other 200 acres I have, then that can be distributed to my kids and they can share it out. So the heart or the wishes of the founder have to come out, and the document that creates that or establishes or hears out the founder and documents that is a trust deed and rules. So the trust deed and rules is a document that creates the trust because it's able to document every wish or every detail according to the wishes of the founder. Then we have, once that draft is created, and the founder is okay with that, then we have it assessed for stamp duty and it's registered and stamped at Lands, the Ministry of Lands. Once it's registered, that trust can literally operate in any manner as per the details of the trust deed and rules. So the TDR is the rule book for any trust. After it's been registered at this level, then there is the incorporation level. So right now, a trust can be incorporated and exist in perpetuity. So the same way a company stands on its own as a legal persona, can own property, sue, be sued, acquire assets, or sell out assets. So once a trust is incorporated, it also acquires the legal persona. Some people register and get it at this level. Still, that would suffice for a trust. Some people take it the full length to incorporation. And still that also gives you, you're able to, now the difference is, let me explain the difference for level 1 and level 2. Let me see if I have a slide for it. Okay, I don't have a slide for it. So the difference between registering the trust to this level and to the incorporation level is that if you register a trust until the registration part, the registration of the trust deed and rules, the trust will be in existence, but the trust cannot hold property in its name. It can only hold assets in the name of the trustees. So for example, I have Diana Nyakio Trust, but it's not incorporated. So that what that means is that if I have maybe say ICA Lion as the trustee of my trust, then all assets will be held by ICA Lion Trust in trust for Diana Nyakio Trust. So Diana Nyakio Trust cannot own property in its name if it's not incorporated. I hope we get the difference. So that's the major difference there on incorporation and registration. So one of the tax benefits that we have currently in Kenya for trust is that there's no capital gain tax when distributing your property. So that has been scrapped off. We don't have corporate income tax payable by trust. So trust, but please note this is for an incorporated trust. So this is a trust that has gone the full length to incorporation. Then we have minimal stamp duty and transfer cost. Initially, if you had property and you're setting up a trust, that's before 2021 December when the law came to when the law was ascended. If I'm not wrong. So initially, what would happen is that if Diana Nyakio has land and I want to create a trust, Diana Nyakio Trust, and I want to transfer my property into my trust, I would pay stamp duty on transfer. But you see, the argument was, this is not a transaction. I'm not selling off my property. It's just that I'm changing ownership. So if you're changing ownership from yourself into your trust or from your family, maybe say company into the trust, then there is minimal stamp duty, and that's just paid at cost within lands. Not as previously the way we do a percentage of the value of the asset. So there is exemption of stamp duty for family trusts, no income tax up to 10 million. So for this particular one, if you have a trust and you want to, I don't know if, yes, I can use Tuskies as an example. So for example, if Tuskies had a trust, okay, let me just use a general example. If a family owns a business and they have set the business under trust, the beneficiaries can be paid up to 10 million per beneficiary per year without paying income tax. So the simple way for that business would be, if I have employees within my family business, instead of paying them as salaried, I would pay them as beneficiaries. And that would mean that I can pay each beneficiary up to 10 million per year without paying. So that's one of the tax benefits that most people are also taking advantage of, especially those who have family businesses that they want to run. Trust funds, these ones I'll skim through quickly. So we have two types of trust. We have a cash trust and we have a family trust. So a cash trust purely handles cash. But a family trust now would hold in the land, any tangible asset to your vehicle, if you have shares somewhere, any other property that is not cash can be held under family trust. But a trust fund purely, which is now the cash trust, purely just holds cash assets. So, and this is now what I want us to get into. What are some of the questions or some of the concerns that a trust fund answers? So some of the questions that you'd find, or some of the concerns that some of our clients would have when setting up a trust fund would be, so who will take care of my loved ones, especially my children, to ensure that their education, Medicare, general well-being is in place. You know, as I was saying, if you have group life benefits, if you have a policy, where will that money go? Who would appropriate the funds for the benefit of your loved ones? Some of the questions the trust fund answers. The other kind of concern the trust fund answers is, what will happen to my savings and my insurance benefits if anything tragic should happen to me? I don't know who within the team has who has life policy. Mostly you have a life policy. You put other over and above, maybe say minor beneficiaries. If you have children, you'd put your kids. Then you'd maybe say one adult, either as a guardian or as another beneficiary within the policy. So the question is, should anything happen, then who gets paid? The kids cannot be paid. So usually what the insurance company does, that it pays the guardian, the kids, or the surviving spouse, or the nominated guardian within the policy. But the question is it certain or is it guaranteed that they would use those benefits for the best interest of your loved ones or the people you care about? So that's another concern that usually a trust fund would answer. Another one would be, so how do I manage to take care of my elderly parents for their healthcare needs? We understand that right now, with the current policies within the insurance landscape, sometimes insurance would refuse to provide a medical cover for senior citizens when it comes to a particular threshold in terms of age, or they'd put a lot of caveats that would make it almost impossible to take up a cover, and you just prefer, okay, fine, I'd rather just set up a fund and have the fund take care of the bills. Because then they'd put things like, is there a pre-existing condition, and a lot of other details within it. So sometimes we have families coming up and saying, hey, can we just build up a fund and have this fund take care of our parents for any healthcare needs that they have? So that then defines a trust as a safe deposit kitty, which can help you manage your cash assets and also ensure that whatever it is that you wanted accomplished by that fund or that cash asset is also executed as is. Types of trusts will draw their name from the various concerns that we have allocated or established within our clientele. So we have education trusts. We have instances where someone would say, I want to fix in a lump sum, and I don't want, maybe say, I don't take a policy. I don't want this saving kidogo every month. Can I just put in 20 million and have this 20 million? Give me interest and have this interest to pay for school fees for my kids. Yeah. So we have, prospects who prefer to put in a lump sum and have that money take care of any education needs. And usually for education trust, what happens is that when you have an education trust, the money would be invested, so there is growth. Secondly, you'd have the trustee also give administrative support in things like paying education, your school fees. So the school fees would be paid annually, semi-annually, depending on the criteria that you've given when setting up, and that money would pay directly to the school. If there's need, maybe say for uniform, then the kids would, the monies would be paid to the procuring entity. If it's maybe say a bookshop, the kids will be able to identify books and have the pro forma invoice sent to us, for example, as trustees, and we'll be able to pay. So what that education trust ensures is that it ensures that all the money within that trust is categorically appropriated for education. And this has categorically supported a lot of beneficiaries, especially from companies that have partnered with us for their deceased employees, and they have group life benefits and they have pension benefits, or even policies that have matured but on death. Then we would have those monies categorically just set out to support the minor beneficiaries within the family for education. And as a trustee, we've been able to see and support many families and pay fees directly to the school, any expenses for uniform, for extracurricular activities, or even school trips. And that has seen most people see value in that kind of a trust. Medical trusts, had explained, just setting up a fund that takes care of medical expenses for your loved ones. We have also instances whereby maybe say as a family you can say, we can set up a fund for medical care, so that in the event any one of us have run out of their, have outrun their cover. Sometimes things happen and you outrun your medical cover, and thank God for well-wishers and the contributions that really come in handy to support families at times when you have outrun your cover. So we have some families saying, okay, fine, let's have a kitty for medical. If any of us outruns their cover, then this kitty will support or boost in that way. We also have charity trusts. We have people passionate about different causes. Some are passionate about education, some are passionate about football, some are passionate about healthcare, mention it, whatever it is. Then a cash trust is able to support the legacy that you want to create. And recently we had one of our partners interested in golf. In golf, and even supporting kids who want to play golf and are not able to pay maybe say the subscription fees or even the golf kit. So literally a charity trust can support any cause that you're passionate about. For example, we also had a family that set up a charitable trust in memory of their late mom, and this trust was to support kids within their region that have passed their examinations, maybe say class 8, and are not able to pay for their high school, or they've done well in their high school and are not able to support their campus education. So a charitable trust would take care of such eventualities. Family welfare, this cuts across, it's a general welfare trust, and the family can define, we're setting up this kitty or this trust, maybe say in case one of our family members is not able to pay school fees for their kids, or in case one of our family members has an issue that needs maybe say a large sum of money, then we're able to pick that from this trust. So a family welfare trust cuts across and can be used for literally anything that the family is able to define. So how do I set up a cash trust? This one is a simple two-step process. Give instructions through an application form. Then there's a document, the legal document we create here is called a grant letter that creates the trust, and then fund the trust with monies from your sources. Could be savings, could be an investment, could be a sale proceed. Then you fund the trust, and we have the trust kickstart. For this particular trust, we offer support services such as you'd get things like maybe say reports, quarterly reports, if it's an active cash trust, and you get reports that would summarize what are the expenses that went in for that month, what's the return that was yielded within that month, and any other, the fees that we charge. For this one, we don't have a setup fee, but usually there would be a management fee or an administration fee that goes with it, and that's at 1% per year. So you'd find that also comes in within the report or the statement, which are shared either monthly or quarterly according to the instructions given at the point of setup. So usually we have those trusts given under investments. And you'd be looking at maybe say an average of between 8 to 12% per year. And the management fee now will be like, will be 1% per year. So you'd find that usually it's an expense-free account because the interest would pay for the management fees. What are the keys to a great estate plan? An updated inventory of assets, know what you own, how you own it, keep important documents in a safe place, easy to remember. I know now these ones now the lawyer must have covered, give copies to your advisors, know how your title is held for every asset, the differences in those dynamics of how is this title held, is it joint, is it they call it joint ownership or joint in I forget the term. So you need to know how title is held, because there's one particular ownership whereby if one member passes on, then the whole asset bounces back 100% to the surviving partner. But then there's an ownership structure which now would have your shares go to your next of kin in the event you passed on. So it's important to know how your title is held for every asset. Review your estate plan anytime there's a substantial change in your life, or every 3 to 5 years. And when I talk about reviewing your estate plan, think about even your simple things like your beneficiary for your pension benefit. And for example, we had a scenario whereby someone had was married, but then they started having issues within the marriage. And I think this guy looked at the wife and was like, oh, the way I see our relationship going, I don't trust you with our children. So he went and changed the beneficiary nomination form. As fate would have it, a few months down the line, the guy passed on. So the drama that unfolded then stamped the fact that it would be important anytime there's a substantial change within your life, review your estate plan. So as simple as even your beneficiaries for your policy, because sorry for another day, that was a drama that unfolded right there. I think I would love to end there, Valentine. I see our time is well spent, but as a parting shot, the goal is not to live forever, but to build something that will, and a trust ensures that you do exactly that. So back to you, Valentine.
Okay, before you finish off, you can talk more about the family trust, where it's like the whole big you create the asset schedule, and then how to create like a family trust. You can give us like a brief introduction, because that's what most people are interested in, the nitty-gritties.
Sorry, come again, Valentine.
You see,
I go back to the family trust.
The family trust, like if I come to you today, Diane, I want a family trust. This is my asset schedule. I'm here with either it's me alone or me and my husband, or me and my husband, me and my wife. This is my asset schedule. What next?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd look at how the assets are owned. So let's assume a perfect scenario where the properties are owned by the two of you, either jointly or individually, but you want to set up a trust, a family trust together. Yes.
Yes.
So we come up with you have your asset schedule. So we will create for you a trust deed. We will draft for you a trust deed and rules. After we've had, so here is what we have. We'll have a consultation session with you and understand. So what do you want? Do you want that we register a trust and that the assets are transferred into the trust for distribution in the event of your demise? Or do you want the assets within the trust, but benefiting the kids, all the kids, according to your wishes, but not liquidated? Yeah. So we'd start picking the details of, these are the assets. Fine. We create a trust. Yes. How do you want these assets to be dealt with in the event of incapacitation, in the event of your demise? So how do we deal? So that would be now the details that will be going into the trust deed and rules.
Okay.
So we draft that. Then we have it
Now, if I come, I say I have this property, it's in a bank somewhere, but I want it in the trust. After I've already put it in the trust, I want to go and use it to get a loan. How flexible is it? How is flexible is the trust? I've gone also too far. Hello?
No, it's still okay. We can talk about it. So one thing, let's go now. Now you've taken me to the types. So we have a
Yes.
living trust.
Yes.
So if it is a living and living trusts are more common within the country from my experience so far. A living trust, you're able to say, for example, add an asset or sell off an asset from within the trust.
Yes.
As long as the founder is alive, you're able to drag it around and even close it up altogether.
Oh, close.
Yes, can revoke it. It's a living trust and it's revocable. Yeah, so that now there we will be going now into the types. So a living trust so within a trust, you're able to, if this is your wish and you want it to be flexible. So you give those details. That's what I'm saying. There's never a one size fits all kind of a family trust or a trust.
Okay, but only the founder can revoke.
Only the founder can revoke, because remember, this is the legacy. This is assets that the founder is donating into the trust. So it is his or their legacy. So they have 100% control on what happens to these assets. But in the event of their demise, then the last instructions that were given through the trust deed and rules would be what will be executed, unless they categorically said, in case I haven't provided for anything within this trust, then this is the team you liaise with to make any variances within this trust.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then talk about the credit protection aspect of a trust.
So going back to this particular slide that I'm on, if we go full length to incorporation, then a trust has obtained their legal persona.
Oh, yes.
And that is why in the event of one's demise, then the trust still continues. Nothing is interrupted because the trust has a separate life from the founder. So if the founder had debts that they had not settled, then whatever asset that they had put within the trust cannot be attached to pay a debt or a claim from one of the creditors, for example, because the assets are no longer his. They belong to the trust. And a trust is a separate entity from the founder. So most people are also using the trust to manage such eventualities, because scenario B, somebody didn't have a trust, maybe they just had a will, then that would mean that the estate of the deceased would have to go through the probate process. Probate process would mean that first of all, find out, did they have a will? Okay, yes or no. If they had a will, we register it. Is there contention? No contention. We have creditors now who want to be paid money, and some assets would be sold.
Yes.
So one will be able to attach such properties to recover debt. But if there's a trust, then that is not possible, because the trust has a different life from the life of the founder. And that's why we also say, if you have a trust, and God forbid one passes on, then the life of your beneficiaries would still continue uninterrupted, because the trust has a different life. But if you didn't have a trust, then that would mean that there's a pause, because whatever benefits were coming, everything else now comes to a standstill, and then you have to go through probate, get letters of administration, no contention, everything is smooth. Now we distribute the assets, final process. Yeah. So a trust helps you avoid the probate process.
Oh my gosh, I'm familiar with that process. Now, the example you gave where you said, someone said that this section I want it to remain as a forest, and this other section, maybe they have like rentals that they were, let's say they had rentals, and that rentals you're able to collect rent. Say they have put the rentals in the trust, so you collect rent on their behalf. But for the Kenya system, the landlords pay 10% rental tax. So if they put the property in the trust, do they still continue paying the rental tax first of all? And then do the charges of the trust, are they inclusive of that rental tax or it's separate? And then now the unutilized land plus the rental land, you treat it as still property, but because there are different aspects of property.
Okay, that's so many questions in one.
Yeah, I know.
I'll try to take it step by step. So first, this process is just the creation of a trust. So this is just creation, which has a separate fee. So for this process, we charge 300,000 to create your trust, and we only use one asset to register the trust.
Oh, one
So
asset?
yes. So we use one asset to register. So this process is just creation. Yeah.
Creation.
After creation, then there is now transfer of assets, step 2.
Yes, transfer.
So all those, so that's a separate service altogether. Lawyers would call it conveyancing.
Yes.
So you're transferring assets into now the trust. That's step 2. Now the third step now, which you got into, was estate administration, collection of rent, maybe say, and other incomes from the various assets within the trust, and how that is managed. So now that is estate administration, which is a separate service altogether. And some people prefer to be the ones still running the show until maybe say they're no more, then they can appoint a court trustee or someone to take it up. Now, for usually also what we do as part of the value add is we also do a tax consultation. But just to mention is that like the instruments within which and that's where the variance is, if there is property, then rental income tax is payable.
Hakuna tax incentives hapo.
Is still payable. So the instrument of investment, so at source, every tax applicable at source, depending on the type of investment, would be payable. But when that money now comes into a trust, there would be no further tax on it.
Wait, I'm confused. Because city,
for
even
example,
if it's still in the trust, it's still a rental property.
For example, if maybe say I had a company,
yes,
then there would be the income tax that I would pay at 30%.
Yes.
Yeah. But if it's coming into the trust now, there is no further taxation. You get the difference? So for any, like if the instrument of investment within the various assets, and that's what we usually do at a tax consultation, is for Kenya now, they have, I think we're still taking shape in terms of our trust laws and our tax benefits for specifically trust properties. But the provision right now is that if it's rental income, then the rental income tax is payable at source. But if the income comes into a trust, then there's no further taxation on that income.
There's no further taxation. But now, okay, so I've brought my business year 1. Or year 0, I paid income tax. Year 1, but I've still made a business income, so it won't be taxed. I'm getting it wrong.
Make an example, maybe say with a company.
Yes.
So maybe say the company owns these rental properties. Would they still pay rental income?
Yes. So the year 1, I've collected the 10M as my rental income.
So there will be rental income tax. Then the money would come into the company, and then there would be further taxation on the income tax, and then distribution. Now,
year 2, I'm in the trust. I've also made 10M rent.
So rental income and no further taxation into the trust.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I think I'll open now the floor. There are some questions in the chat. Or maybe who wants to unmute and ask their question right away? If you have a burning question, as we go through
I think we can go through the chat. I can see there's some questions also on the chat.
Yes.
No capital gain tax, right? Right. No capital gain tax on transfer of property.
Yeah, let's start with the first question that came in.
Then there's Binadanu. Can I change the trust administrator? Or if I open it, I'm stuck at ICA forever. No, you can always change as long as you're the founder. You have the leeway to change the trustee.
Right. So
The
is
trustee.
uh-huh. Was the income tax exemption up to 10M not scrapped in the Finance Act 2023? This is my understanding from an accountant.
From an accountant.
Yes.
Or if yes, if that there was that there was that provision on the Finance Act. Sorry, so that was touched. I think my mind was still on the, you know, when it was put on hold before it was. So yeah, you're correct on that, Eve.
To scrap it up. Is there a minimum amount one can put in a trust or set up a cash trust? Minimum amount?
We used to have a minimum amount, but we scrapped it off. So the threshold is that the minimum amount has to make sense with the purpose. Like it has to be aligned with the purpose.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like for example, you can't put a trust for 100,000 and you want it to pay maybe say beneficiaries an upkeep of 100,000 every month. So where will be the other? So like we scrapped it off and said because it's based on the purpose. So the purpose would support how much one is putting.
Okay. In a cash trust, are the interest rates compounding and are there options for USB cash trusts?
Yes. For the cash trust that we have, we also provide for investments in foreign currency because we have some of our clients very keen on value, the currency value and how the Kenyan shilling has been changing. So yes, we provide for that investment in foreign currency. What was the other part about the question? Are the interest rates compounding? Yes.
Compounding.
Yes. So the interests are compounding.
Oh. So I think this one you've answered changing the administrator or at ICA forever. I think you answered that one. Yes. Any more questions? You can unmute and ask a question if you have one.
Yeah, I have a question. Diana, thanks for the presentation. It's been quite insightful. I think mine, I would like to have I think it's just a quick answer on the educational fund. If I was to set up an education fund with you guys, and let's say I would like my kids not to study in Kenya, but study outside, let's say in a university or a school in Europe, is that something that you guys can accommodate, or it's just restrictive to schools that are within Kenya or Uganda? Yeah.
Thank you, Patricia, for that question. So we have trusts that allow for us to also facilitate payment outside the country. So it is something we have done and something we allow for. That's why we have also the provision for investments in foreign currency for some of our clients who are a bit sensitive in that regard.
Okay. So thanks.
Karibu.
Anyone else?
Yes, I'm seeking clarification regarding the setup charges. So you mentioned a fee of 300,000. Is this for a cash trust or is this for a family trust? Because that was not clear to me. And then for the cash trust or for any trust, you've talked about taxation applying at source. But what about in, let's say, an alternate scenario where you are using, let's say, for example, funds pre-existing in a money market fund? So currently, as it stands right now, there is the management fee that is levied by the fund manager, and then there is a 15% tax component to it. So do I get any tax benefit if this money moves? First of all, does the tax aspect dissipate? And does your management fee, if higher than 1%, move down to 1%?
Thanks, Eve. Sorry, I got distracted, but I got the first part of your question. Cash trust and family trust. So the cash trust setup is free. There is no cost to it. The only cost that comes to play with the cash trust is the administration expense, or the administration expense, because with a cash trust, there's either money you're paying. For example, if it's for education, then there's money you're paying out for education. You're investing this money. So we would expense our trusteeship or administration services. So for cash trust, setup is free, but administration is charged at 1% per year of the value we have in the trust fund. A family trust now is what we charge 300,000 for creation. We draft for you a trust deed, we review back and forth, you're happy, we take it to lands for registration, then to incorporation at the registry for trusts. You have your certificate, 300,000 for setup or creation. I hope that's clear now with the costs.
Yes, partly clear, but I'm still seeking clarification. So let's say I have, currently I may have, let's say, a money market fund. The money market fund, I will be charged whatever figure is in the fact sheet of ICA Lion, which typically I've seen between different fund managers may range anywhere between 1.2 to almost, is it 2.25% or 2.5% on the upper side? Now, if this same money is moved, does that amount move down to 1%? And does the tax of 15% cease?
Okay. So thank you, I got that. So let's go to the taxation. So the taxation would still hold at source. The 15% withholding tax would still hold at source. But whatever now income would come to the trust, then there would be no further taxation on that. About the fund management expense and all, let's look at the players. Who are the players within a trust? Now let's open it further. So within a trust now, like now for our cash trust book, which right now would be at maybe say something a little in excess of 2 billion. What we have is that we have a fund manager, we have a custodian, and we have a trustee who doubles up as an administrator. So any one of you maybe who's conversant with the pension schemes are set up as a trust. That's why they would have the fund manager, the administrator, and the trustee. So the same principle applies when it comes to the operational structure for a trust. So we would have a fund manager. We have a fund manager within our trust pool, who is ICA Lion Asset Management. Then we have the trustee and administrator, who's the ICA Lion Trust Company. So how we've done, because we are, and then we have the custodian, who's NCBA Bank. So we have the three players. So each of these players have a fee attached to them. But because it's a pool, then you would not have that fee appropriated to you as an individual. The same way now you'd feel the impact if you're investing straight into a money market fund or a bond fund, for example. So because you're pulling this fund, I've seen some trust setups in other companies where they would charge, maybe say they'd show you that the custodian fee here is 0.5%. Then we have the fund manager fee at 1.5%. Then we have the admission fee at 1%. Then the total would come to around, maybe say, is that 0.5, 1.5? That's already 2. And then maybe say 1%, 3%. So you find that the fees for the service providers or the players within that particular service would be a total of 3% for all. So within our pool, as the way we have structured it within now, say, for example, ICA Lion Trust Company, we have absorbed some of those costs. So the only cost that would reflect to our client would be our 1% administration fee. I don't know if that now answers your question.
Yes, it answers my question. So the back to the issue of the 300,000 now for the family trust.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets to the point of registration, not to the point of incorporation. Did I get you right?
No, it gets to the place of incorporation. The 300 would get you to the place of incorporation, and you have your certificate of incorporation.
So now you said that you can use a single asset to for the purposes of registration. So if I find myself adding assets, do I get charged?
Yes, because now that's now the second, what I was calling now the second phase would be now you've incorporated your trust. So the next phase would be if you have more than one asset, then you're transferring those assets into the trust, so the conveyancing, and that would attract a different fee altogether.
So any idea what kind of amount somebody is talking about? You know, what is there a fixed figure for this, or how does this work?
I'll speak for the trust company. I know various maybe say advocates will charge differently depending on their provisions within the mandates, and some would charge per asset. Some would charge based on the value of the asset, where the asset is situated, and all that. But as a company, we haven't categorically said that we will charge you X amount per asset on conveyancing or on transfer. And that is specifically because most of the clients we have would come with their lawyers, and they would want, once I've registered my trust, then the lawyer would deal with the rest. Internally, as a company, we have that as an open conversation. We let the client know that yes, there would be a fee, but we get to agree at what that cost will be at that particular point. So there have been discussions. Some say, okay, can we do 30,000 per asset, regardless of the value of the asset? Can we charge based on where the asset is situated? So it's not like we can categorically fix and say this is the cost. There would be dynamics that come into play for consideration, but we get to agree with the client at a reasonable.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, at what point did you lose me? I was saying, did you get to hear about the? Okay, let me repeat the statement. For transfer of assets, I know most advocates would charge sometimes per asset, or depending on where the asset is situated, or the value of the asset, or how many assets there are, and then they'll charge you one flat fee. For us as a trust company, we have set it as an open discussion, and we get to agree with the client when we are there. And that is mostly because most of our clients would come with lawyers that they already have a relationship with, and they would love that the lawyers handle their conveyancing. As a trust company, we've left it open for discussion when we get to that point of now where we are considering transferring assets. Yes, we've had clients who we've now also transferred assets to the trust. And the last one I can remember top of my mind, we charged them 30,000 per asset, but that was less disbursement costs.
Okay, then now just looking at the current slide that you have up. So assuming that the trust deed and rules have been, final draft is ready, how long does this process actually take? I know you've talked, because this was one of the areas that was a point of concern from the previous discussion with the lawyer. So how long does it actually take?
Thank you for that.
To get the trust incorporated.
To get the certificate of incorporation. So usually we say, I know that the government have given 60 days for you to have the whole length registration process complete. But as it were, we understand this. We understand our country and how that goes. So for to manage expectations, we work with 6 months for our clients. And yes, we have had trust previously before the regulation for 60 days came alive. We've had trust that actually even took us up to 9 months to get a certificate of incorporation. So currently we're working with 6 months.
Okay, then so that I don't hog all the questions. So you said at the beginning that anybody, let's say for example, who has SACCO, anybody who has an MMF, you can create a trust. Now, what exactly does that mean? Does it mean that I continue with my existing accounts but list the trust as the beneficiary? Does it mean physical transfer? This is not clear to me.
Okay. Thanks for that. So now, when you have say the policies and the SACCOs and all, you don't transfer. What you do is you create a trust and fund the trust. So you can say, okay, fine, let me set up a trust and I can put in say 100,000. But within this cash trust, I'm listing all the cash assets in waiting that I have. So I'll list my policy and estimate the value. I'll list my my SACCO benefits, estimate what value would come from it. I'll list my shares, what value, and then I'd have that within the trust. But I will not have an actual transfer. Then what I'll then do after I've created my trust that is now active, I'll go and amend the nomination of beneficiaries. If it was my policy, then you nominate your trust 100% to get the benefits. If it's maybe my SACCO benefits, then I'd nominate my trust to take the benefits. If it's money that I have in shares or benefits, maybe say pension benefits, and I'd nominate my trust to get 100% benefits. So in that way, then you're drawing all your cash assets in waiting into your trust. But within the trust now, say if it's sitting with ICA Lion, we will charge a 1% management fee of the 100,000 that we have, and not the say 20 million of all your cash assets in waiting. If it's a money market fund, the money market fund would still run, but then you'd have the nominated beneficiary or at your money market fund as your trust. So should anything happen, then all these benefits are being drawn towards your trust.
Okay.
I don't know whether
And
that.
then, yes, that is clear to me. The final, query I think from me is: has there ever been a situation where a trust has been, and I'm not talking about by the founder, a situation where a trust has actually been revoked, or revoked?
For example, if would you want to give maybe say an instance now that you've categorically said not the founder? For the founder, yes, you would find instances where a founder has revoked the trust and terminated it.
So for example, I'm just borrowing from some of the queries that have been asked by Valentine. So for example, that you find that there isn't actually, let's say, creditor protection as an example, and let's say creditors make a claim on the trust as an example.
Okay, I'm trying to simulate an example within that. Top of mind, no. Top of mind, I could be wrong, stand to be corrected, but top of mind, no, because when there is disparity or maybe say unclear provisions within the trust and the founder is no longer alive, then any beneficiaries would be drawn back to the trustees. So top of mind, no, but it's something I can do further checks on, but top of mind, no, unless maybe someone from the call can answer. If we also have an advocate on call, they could also chime in.
There's a follow-up, just a follow-up from Eve's question. When it comes to the assets, they have to be located in Kenya, or we could, ICA allows assets, let's say if someone has a house in Europe, or you just have a couple of, the money market fund, let's say in Europe, and can you put them under your trust, or have to set up something different?
You can put them under your trust, but what comes to play is that when there is maybe say any decision to be made, the rules of the land within which the assets are situated then would come to play as a first priority. But as a matter of trust, then you'd be able to have those assets placed within your trust.
Okay.
So a follow-up to Eve's question as well. So the 8 to 12% you talked about is factored on the cash amount you have in the trust.
Yes.
And are there charges to setting up a medical or education trust?
No. For all the cash trusts, and the types would be, it could be a medical trust, but it's holding cash. It could be a charitable trust holding cash. We don't have any setup costs for that, but we have management fee that is at 1% per year.
And then what's the transition of a living trust once someone dies? What's the transition like?
The transition would be basically to execute the wishes, because you see, when you're setting up a trust, then you're also detailing out what happens in the event of my demise. The transition would be if maybe say within your trust you had said, these assets, in the event of my demise, let these assets be distributed in this and this and this manner. And that's what would take place. If maybe say the provision was, hey, I want these assets developed by the trustee in this and this manner, and have the income distributed equally among my beneficiaries, and that's what would come to play. So usually the transition would be the wishes as is detailed in the rule book, which is the trust and rules, then would kick in. And then you'd have maybe say if you had appointed individual trustees, or if you had appointed corporate trustees, and maybe say a co-management committee within the family, then those would be the people that would be working hand in hand to ensure that whatever is detailed out is executed as so. And the transition would really depend on how the setup or the provisions within the trusted.
So can it still remain living as long as they are still, so long as it's still living, quote unquote, like I'm dead, but they are still, for example, my wishes are for up to the 5th generation. Does it still remain a living trust?
Well, a living trust, maybe if you can go to the definition, a living trust is termed as a living trust because you set it up where you are alive and you're able to interact and engage with it like so. In the event now of the demise of the founder, then it becomes an irrevocable trust.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying now. The transition now would be executing the wishes of the founder.
Okay.
Good evening. Let me, I wanted to ask maybe a bit of an intrusive one. What went wrong with one of the prominent families that where the founder, the octogenarian, set up a trust, and it ended up being that the whole family was missing out on the benefits. The intended beneficiaries were missing out on their medical entitlements, education entitlements, and seemed like the trustees were benefiting more than the dependents. Okay, I don't know if there's some rules of confidentiality at play here, but I'm referring to the Karume family, the Jengab Karume family. Is there any like key learning points from that example?
Thank you for that question. It's a question that always comes up anytime we are talking about trust. So I would have been surprised if it didn't come up in this discussion. And it's good you've pointed it out. And I think for us, I think that that also came in to also, sensitize the public about trust. And for starters, I would say that by virtue of the family setting up or the patriarch setting up that trust was a step in the right direction. And maybe I could throw in a question at that, and that would be something we could think about. And I've loved how you've concluded your question on, are there any learnings on that particular trust? I'd ask a question. If maybe say you had a trust, or maybe say you had a trust being managed by the friends of your late dad, and so they're managing that trust as trustees, and they bought a new car, changed their lifestyle, what are the chances that you would consider that, hey, I think someone is chunking out some of our benefits for their benefit? What are the chances that that would be one of the assumptions that one would make? And I think for me there, one of the learnings would be that it will be good considering what was the more superior way, individual trustees or corporate trustees. Again, it throws us back to the issue of interest. There's how a trust is run. We have the Trustees Succession Perpetual Act, which helps and governs how trusts are run and being managed. So the question would be, so for corporate trustee vis-a-vis individual trustee, which one is more stronger, more solid? Again, for issues of succession, maybe. In the event you have individual trustees, one passes on, one is sick. So who selects, or how? What is the criteria for selection of the next trustees or the replacing trustees? Vis-a-vis a corporate trustee, whereby the corporate trustee has no interest. It's very clear on the remuneration. By the way, one of the clauses that also is provided for within a trustee agreement is a trustee remuneration. So when you have a corporate trustee, then that clause is very clear. If you have individual trustees who are maybe say just out of benevolence managing your assets or managing that trust, then the issue of remuneration would be another discussion. Again, were they doing it out of benevolence? Was there a clause that categorically specified how the trustees would be remunerated? Because that clause also usually is important. Then for individual trustees, again, would say that the issue of interest comes in. Being individuals, one would easily say, maybe say if we have, maybe say the family is fighting, or maybe say the beneficiaries are not agreeing, we could have three that call two trustees kando, wanaambia, hey, fanya hii, and then we do this. So the issue of interest comes about. And you see, we said that a trust can try to be as granular as possible, but again, where the instruction is not clear, or where there needs to be a determination of a provision that was not provided for within the trusted and rules, then who is the liaison committee, or which is the team that makes the call or makes the decision? And according to the Trustees Succession Perpetual Act, the trustees have a fiduciary responsibility that ensures that they act for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And I know this is a very sensitive discussion, because trustees within that act have the mandate or the powers to vary the wishes of the settler, but they have to prove that they acted for the best interest of the settler and their beneficiaries. That's usually the caveat or the catch. So one of the learnings, so this is some of the things we could already now start picking out. So, and the whole drama that blew out that case was the issue of individual trustees and the interest that was there, and the remuneration that was there, and there was a feel that they were drawing more too much than they were supposed to draw. So the question would be for the advocates that drew the trusted and rules and the trustee agreement, then what was the clause on remuneration? And you see, like a trust is a private document, and I think this came to life because there's a lot of drama surrounding it. But to date, you wouldn't find someone who categorically knows, unless yes, there's confidentiality, because a trust is a private document. We have the inner dealings and the inner workings and what transpired. We have some bit of grapevine on that from different people, but then we usually want to use it as you've said. What are the learning points? What can we pick? And I think I would love to leave it at that. But as we saw from that is that the judges could not now come and distort the wishes of the patriarch, and they drew the beneficiaries back to the trust. the power that a trust has, because the wishes of the patriarch were not varied and would not be varied by court, but then the beneficiaries would be drawn back to the trustees until a point where now they had to agree. Again, you're able to also sue trustee in the event that you find that they were not acting to the best interest of the beneficiaries, or if whatever they were doing were not as per the provisions of the trust deed and rules. So you can sue a trustee for misconduct, and that can hold. But to vary the wishes within the trust by the founder, then that's a very difficult discussion. I don't know whether that kind of answers or just gives placement on the position of a trust without getting now to the very family.
Thank you. That's very insightful.
Maybe to throw spanner into the works, have we seen a situation where corporate trusts have actually mismanaged people's trusts?
A corporate trust has mismanaged.
Like, yeah. Like, what is the risk? I'm trying to see, is there a risk in actually setting up a trust with a corporate entity?
I'm trying to think of a scenario where a corporate, because you see, with a corporate entity, they have zero interest. And you'd find that they are a neutral party to the trust. And they are in business, and for their mandate is just to ensure that the wishes of the founder are executed. I'm trying to find a scenario or a cause that would pass for a corporate mishandling a trust. Top of mind, nothing comes to mind. But I also invite, maybe say, if any one of us here would have a scenario, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult for that to happen. Top of mind, I'm not able to simulate an example for maybe misconduct from a corporate entity. Because you see, this is it. When you're holding, like, as a corporate entity, the assets of for example, even for the trust company, Silent Trust Company, its assets are very different from the assets within a trust. Because you see, the assets within the trust don't even form part of the assets of the company. They're very separate. But they form part of the responsibility within the trust that they are or they have oversight on.
Maybe a final question from me. And do you guys do a due diligence on your clients, or it doesn't matter how I acquired my wealth?
Thank you for that. That's a good one. Yes, we do a due diligence on our clients. We, being a financial institution, we have oversight from AML and the reports we also give. So we have a strict oversight, and that's why once we have one of the very first sessions we have is a consultation session. We check out what are your schedule of your assets, sources of your funds. So we have that. We have that as a financial institution. So it's one of the mandates that we must pass, even for us to have our businesses afloat. We actually have a scenario where we rejected a particular prospect or client because of that. So we are as a company, we are very strict on that.
Okay, noted.
Valentine, unless there's a final one.
There's someone who has put, what is the cost of the consultation session? A consultation is free.
It is not free. It is not free.
It's not free.
It's not free. We charge depending on okay, we have the tax consultation. In the event you want a consultation, just let me know. I could organize something for you. But usually we charge The least amount is 5,000 per session, per 1 hour session.
But now, if I'm coming with an asset schedule from scratch, and if I'm coming with already like with my lawyer and already like a will the consultation be different?
Yes, because actually the consultation is never the same, because sometimes what clients want is a legal opinion on
Yes.
whether
Mhm.
for what they want, a trust would be the best vehicle. So for
Oh.
that is a legal opinion, which we charge 50,000. We check what you own, how you own it, what you feel you want to achieve. Then we give you a legal opinion. We charge that. For that, we charge 50,000. Then for
Mhm.
some, they would want to know, okay, I want to go the trust route, but I want to know what are the tax benefits, or how can I maximize? Because again, with taxes, you see the same way you can have a company and have some expenses being tax allowable depending on how you phrase them within your books.
Yes.
Yeah. So the same thing applies with trusts. There's a way you can harness the tax benefits that have been provided. So we offer tax consultation to see, okay, so what assets do you have? These are the questions you're asking me. So what if it is this? What if it is this? So how is that the tax benefit? So we get into the nitty-gritties when we're able to understand, okay, so what are your assets? Then we also give you a full tax consultation on your schedule of assets before you get even into the trust. And we can tell you, well, for you to fully maximize or get the most value in terms of tax savings, then this is a structure you would absorb, or that would work for you. If you have estates abroad, estates in Kenya, and you want to put them up together, or income from the country, income from outside the country, and you want to put all this into a trust, then we have a session with you and say, okay, fine, then this is how you can best maximize value out of this using a trust. You have a business, maybe say you have a company that is run by the family, you have assets that are managed by the family, and you want to bring these two together, then we can have a consultation and advise you. So which is the best trust structure to adopt for maximum value for that? So the consultations vary depending on where the client is at and what they want to achieve. So it's at the point now when you give me now, say, there's what we give as an information form. So the information form is able to guide me and show me where you are and what the client wants, and then you're able to guide onto what would be the most ideal first step, and then moving on. Sometimes you have clients who come up and they have a will and they want to set up a trust. And so we find that we have to revise the will, maybe do a codicil, and then before getting into the trust.
Okay.
So the consultation varies on where the client is at and what they want to achieve. So I was saying it's not a one size fits all, but then the principles are the same.
Okay. Now, let me take you back a few. Sorry for that. You had said if you have cash assets in waiting, you set up a cash trust.
Yes.
But now, if I also want if I have cash assets in waiting, but I also want the family trust. So now, do I have two trusts?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yes. So now what would happen is you'd have the family trust, and then the cash trust would come in as a sub trust within the.
Oh, sub trust within the.
Yes. Yes. Because sometimes you even have, maybe say what you have in your family trust is a commercial property. If this commercial property is receiving rental income, and you want that rental income to go into a trust, so there would be a cash trust created as a sub trust under this family trust to handle cash.
Oh, there's sub trust also.
And in that case, does the management fee remain 1% when you create sub trust within a trust?
Yes, it still would remain at 1%.
1%. Yes, and then you have been very diplomatic in the scenarios that you're giving, but I want to go the Kenyanese way. I don't want to make assumptions. So many people have like secret families, secret children, blah blah blah. It's not a secret. So if like I come to you, I tell you I want this and this, but I don't want my wife to know. And then but during funerals everything comes up, so people know each other. So is there you said that someone can sue the trustee? If someone has told you I don't want my wife to know, and then the wife ends up knowing, can they sue the trustee? Can they sue you? As I see, I don't know how to.
They have to prove that they have to prove that we're the ones who leaked the information.
Oh, yeah, they have to prove that you leaked.
Sorry. Yes,
Mhm.
but within the trust, yes, we actually, I think it's common in Kenya now. I don't know why, but we have we have such the scenarios where we've provided for different families from the same person. Maybe say a guy would come and say, I have two families, I want to provide for all of them. I don't want either to know. And you see, a trust is a private document. So in the event anything would happen, family A will know this is what Mzee had, and this is what Mzee's wishes were, and this is what the Mzee left. Final. Then family B differently. This is what Mzee had, this is what Mzee left, and these were his wishes. So every family will be happy, like, why yeah, he was thinking about us.
But now in a case where like the both families know, okay, people always know if I have like say someone has like Sarit Center, no one cannot know the owner of Sarit Center. So if someone has said in a trust, 60% of Sarit Center goes to family A, 40% goes to family B, wouldn't each family wonder why they're only getting 60%? Ama, you won't give them an explanation?
There is discretion on on what is disclosed and how that is disclosed. Yeah. Because you see, the thing can also be that proceeds, that this property maybe was put up on sale, and these proceeds are coming this way. Some are going into charity. So there's discretion on the extent of disclosure, and that's what I'm saying. Depending also now on where the client is at, we're able to consult and say, okay, if you do it like this, then these are some of the risks that would be encountered. If you have it, these are some of the risks that are encountered. So such things would be curbed at the consultation level.
Consultation. So now if like family A asks, what happens to the 40% of the revenue, what do you tell them?
That's what I'm saying.
You don't tell them anything?
That's what I'm saying. At consultation level, before we set up the trust, so you're having consultation. Then we hear out. So what are your wishes? You tell us. So me, I want to do 60% here, 40%. So the risk, this is the risk. So are you ready for this risk? Yes. So how do we deal with this risk? It comes out. So because usually what the trustee does is a KYM. If I would use a Kenyan language, KYM would mean I'm categorically executing the wishes of so and so.
No, categorically is the keyword.
Yes. But there would be discretion. Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting part. Okay. Yes. Anyone else with a question before we close the session? Evelyn, have you finished your question?
Mine is not really a question, but I think just for the sensitization of everybody on the call. You know, as Africans, we don't like to think about the fact that we are not immortal. But if there is one fact that is certain, is that we shall all die. Now, you've alluded to probate proceedings, but you sit in an interesting space where you can be able to break down for everyone on call. I know we are not discussing, we are discussing trusts, but the consequences of not putting your affairs in order and what probate actually means. Because I have recently, been interacting with somebody who was widowed. And I think even for me, it has dawned for the first time what actually it means not to have your estate in order. To just break down that, and then what probate actually means and the repercussions. And I know there are people on this call who are themselves undergoing probate. Maybe if they are willing, they can share their experiences of this process.
Okay. Noted. Let's give Diana a chance to finish up, and then we'll continue with the session.
Thank you so much for the question. And clearly, I think Valentine, either we need to do another session, I need to do a one-on-one, I need to charge for the next time I'm coming.
No, let's organize another one. You can see it's actually a timely conversation.
It is a timely conversation, and I tell you, also within our small conversations within even in engaging Kenyans, it's a timely solution. And allow me to just quickly summarize what probate is, maybe for the ones maybe who may not be familiar with the probate process, and then I'll request to leave. I'm at a friend's. I came to party. I told her I'd be finishing at 8, so I'd request to finalize on this, and then I'd excuse myself.
Yeah.
So the probate process. Let's start actually with what happens in the event someone has passed on. Yeah. So the first thing, or the probate process would first involve finding out if they had a will. So step 1, did the individual have a will? Yes or no? Okay, if it is yes, where is the will? Higher, which is the true will? We've had instances now where we've had 10 wills have come up, especially with these wealthy guys. So which one is the correct one? So how do you know which one was the correct one? Okay, ilitoka wapi, ilitoka. So all that drama is part of the probate process. If they didn't have a will, then can the family agree and say, okay, who's to be appointed as the administrator of our estate? And if all are in agreement, if they are lucky and nothing comes up, no drama, then they're able to get letters of administration, then they distribute. But the greater drama is on, maybe say, for example, now, for example, if there was a will, then proving the will. So the process of proving that will now is what is now like entail the larger part of the probate process. Yeah. So just proving, I don't know how best to explain that. Maybe Eve or someone who's going through it can explain some of the things that go there, and then that's where the contesting or not contesting comes in. Aya, kama kulikuwa na creditor, kama kulikuwa na somebody else who's laying claim on it na hajawekwa kwa will. Now that's why all the drama now would be at.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for your time, Diana. We have learned a lot. Let's go and what is it called? The marinate on the information. We shall regroup and call you at a later time also. But we'll be constantly engaging with you. Thank you so much from me and the investable community and the guests that we've had. At peak, we had I think around 41 members. So that's a good turnout. Thank you so much for your time. We are honored to have you.
Thank you, Valentine. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm so in love with the team, because the team is well aware and alive to what happens around this discussion. And then so you're able to have a very rich discussion. I think that's why tumefika karibu 9. So I really appreciate your engagement and hoping to have more of these conversations in the future. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, you can clap for yourselves, investable people. Yes. Hi. So I think we can release Diana. Anyone else with a question before she leaves? Because now we'll just finish up with the quiz and then we can go off now. Anyone else? Burning question? I think we are good.
So I can leave, Valentine?
Yes, you may.
Sawa. I'll leave my contacts on the chat. I can see there's a question on my contact.
Yes, please leave your contacts, your email address.
Okay.
Yes, so as she's writing, I can read to you the quiz as I had had given the investable team. So number 1, known as the richest family in the world, they have a key footing in major industries that we use today. I think there is fuel, there is oil, there is motor vehicle, according to the research I did. So managed by an international bank that unfortunately collapsed in Kenya. Now this bank did not have any relation with the international one. The international one was still managing the assets. The bank named here was Chess Bank. Chess Bank in Kenya collapsed, but Chess Bank International, I don't know if they have relations. So I think that was a twister for this trust. Then unrelated but helps in the clue. If you're a Jay-Z fan, this should be an easy guess. Jay-Z's record label is called Roc-A-Fella. I think Jay-Z and his business, I don't know what to call it, business creativity or whatever, he used it to create any publicity is good, whether it's good or bad, create publicity on his record label. So he adopted that name as Roc-A-Fella, not Rockefeller, the word, but Roc, #Fella. So I expected Jay-Z fans to know this upfront. So the winner for number 1, Sally Kambiha, I don't know if you're here. She got the
I'm here, I'm present.
You're present. Yes, Sally got the Rockefeller Trust without even the hints, without the hint that I've named. Was like it's like the world's most famous trust. Even it is controversial. People say that he is the owner of Illuminati. I don't know how true that is. Please don't quote me anywhere. So Sally, I hope you don't have any Fuliza. Please send me your M-Pesa details and where you are located. Number 2.
Okay, I'm sending right now.
Sending right away. Send me your M-Pesa details. I hope you don't have a Fuliza.